Good morning from a dark and rainy London. Welcoming you from, as I can see so far, all over the UK, from France, from Germany, from other places in Europe. Please do say hello in the chat. It's lovely to have a sense of who's gathering together this morning. A very real sense of each of us here. Hello, Linda from Amsterdam. And really feeling the presence of our Sangha, the sense of, although we can't physically see each other, there's still this miraculous way that we can feel each other. We can feel each other's presence when we rest into it, when we allow that awareness to open in us of all of these beings gathering together in this moment and even joining us in a different moment in time. Those of you joining on the recording, regardless, we're all coming together in the same field. And so as we settle and arrive, a reminder that our practice this week is exploring the more challenging emotions that inevitably come to us in life. And yesterday, the focus was a little more on the great blessing of love, which is the foundation, the very ground that we discover we inhabit over time, over lifetimes, and the ground that we both remember and also cultivate in order to meet these challenging emotions in a way that brings great benefit. So yesterday we practiced a little of that cultivation of the attitude of love, the curiosity and the care, the tenderness, the wonder and awe. We also touched a little on the possibility at times of feeling love as well. And as some of you mentioned, that's very condition dependent. There are times that it's more accessible for us, and there are times that it's really not accessible for us to feel love directly. But what is always accessible for us is this cultivation of the attitude of love. And that's really what we're exploring this week. The way in which when we discover that it's possible to meet what is here with love, particularly when what is here is challenging, then not only does the challenging nature of whatever is here soften, because our friction with it softens, our resistance to it softens, but love itself grows, because when we are willing to meet what is challenging with love, with softness, with care, with curiosity, there are extraordinary qualities and flavors of love that we begin to experience. And so hopefully we'll begin to get a little bit of a sense of that over the week. Today we will be exploring anxiety, which I often feel to be one of the one of the first places of defense around the heart. When life is overwhelming, which really means when there are emotions that we believe are too much for us to bear. One of the first lines of defense is to go from the body, which is where our emotions are, where we inhabit our emotions, and into the mind. We'll go, anxiety takes us into a fussing, a fixing, and an obsessing. It feels like we're trying to figure out an answer, trying to find the best way forward, but actually it's not in any way the most effective way to find the best way forward, because we tend to be circulating in the mind with this fussing and fixing and obsessing. Whenever we are cut off from other parts of our being, when we're exclusively in the mind and cut off from the heart and from the belly, we are much less effective in being able to receive the whole of this moment and respond to the whole of this moment. So our practice, which is also a very useful practice, as I said yesterday, in times when we're not being triggered, so that we have more access to remembering this in times that we're triggered. Our practice in the face of anxiety is to bring our attention, just checking in that other people have good sound and video. Good. Hopefully, Wendy, you can check on your own device and maybe refresh if needed. So I was saying that our practice, when there is anxiety present, is to really be vigilant in bringing our attention back into the body. To bring our attention back down into the body, to lengthen our exhalations, to feel the ground. To bring our attention back into a place that we can begin to feel anxiety in the body and meet it in the body with curiosity and care, with the same curiosity and care that we cultivate when we simply sit, breathing and feeling the breath with tenderness, with warmth, with curiosity, with wonder, with awe. And so each of these emotions and mind states exist in the body. They are particular patterns of movements of energy, of tension, of contraction, of collapse. They affect every way we feel, every mind state and emotion affects the way we breathe. And as we become familiar with these patterns, we can start to locate emotions and mind states in the body much more. Yes, as you said, Caroline, the body vibrates with it. The body vibrates with every emotion, with every mind state in a different way. So the more we familiarize ourselves with how this feels in the body, the beauty of that is that everything can be met in the body directly with love, with curiosity, with care. Everything in the body can be breathed into, can be turned towards, can be we can come to soften around it, to rest beside it. So then it becomes a little more like that story I shared yesterday of the embodiment, the parent, the enlightened parent, an embodiment of wisdom and compassion and delight, being able to, hearing the distressed cries of their child, and entering the room without leaving their steady presence, turning towards, softening around, resting beside. Can you see that that's very different to noticing there's anxiety, or not even noticing, but inhabiting the anxiety and just inhabiting the thought streams, or noticing there's anxiety and becoming angry with ourselves, saying that I'm a meditator, I shouldn't be like this. That would be going into the child's room and scolding the child for feeling anxious. Or just going into the room and joining in with the anxious narrative of, oh, it's just this, yes, I agree, this is all so unsolvable, and so on and so on. So by recognizing how the body feels in anxiety, we can catch ourselves earlier. We can remember that what we need is a little space now, if possible, or at least when it's possible, to then bring our attention consciously into the body, to exhale, to feel the ground, to feel the support, to inquire into how this feels in the body, to breathe into those places of contraction, to soften around them, to rest beside them, to begin to really feel how the ground holds us in a way that is profoundly wide, spacious lap, the sense that there is always room for this, and there's room for this too, and there's room for this too. There's room for this, there's space for this, there's time for this. Even when there's a decision that needs to be made quickly, this moment is profoundly deep and wide. When we're truly present, even for a few moments, the sense of time profoundly expands. There's time for this. And so we begin to experience, as we come closer to what is here in the body right now, to the sense that we are held, we are able to hold what is here in the same way that the earth holds us, with our wide, deep lap. We begin to experience the truth that there's room for this, there's space for this, there's time for this. Points us towards a deeper experience of equanimity, that this too can be met. That even this moment that feels like there are no answers, can we sit in the discomfort of the apparent lack of answers and wait for the right answer to reveal itself, as Lao Tzu said. Can we trust that in meeting this moment with love, meeting this moment, we don't have to feel love in order to meet this moment with love, meeting this moment with the attitude, the qualities of love, with curiosity, with care, with tenderness, with wonder. Can we trust that in meeting this moment with love, love knows how to respond. Love's wisdom and compassion and delight gives us greatest access to appropriate response. And what we discover as we increasingly practice in this way, meeting anxiety as it will inevitably come up, meeting anxiety by coming into the body and making space for it and feeling its presence in the body and breathing into that presence and turning towards it and resting beside it and softening around it. What we discover as equanimity grows, as a felt experience, begin to discover the very freeness of life. That there's really nothing that we need to run from. We increasingly discover that everything can be turned towards, softened around, rested beside. There's a deepening freeness that becomes the ground that we walk on, the air that we breathe, the deepening trust in this heart that there is nothing that can't be met in this way and included in this way. And so over time, anxiety itself begins to relax. So let's practice together now. And even though each day I will be pointing towards a particular quality of heart and mind that might be here and ways in which we might meet it, of course, what we do when we practice is meet what's here. So really the invitation is if a different emotion is here very strongly with you, in an overreaching way, the invitation is always the same: to come into the body, to turn towards it, whatever is here in the body, to soften around it, to rest beside it, to breathe with it and into it with love. So find a comfortable seat where you feel grounded, with your spine upright, your heart, chest area open, and your body relaxed. If you notice that there's a lot of agitation in the head, in the mind, tension in the face and the upper body, as would be the case and as is the case when we feel anxiety, sometimes it can help to move a little. It can sometimes help even to stand up and shake a little to be able to feel the body. Or simply squeeze and stretch the skin and muscles of the face, making any facial contortion you can conjure up, opening the mouth wide. Sighing or yawning or making a sound. Lengthening the exhalation with that sigh or sound. And with the sigh or the sound, consciously drawing your attention down into wherever you feel contact with the ground. And really feeling that contact, the sensations of contact. Feeling the way that the contact with the ground isn't just an idea in the mind. It's the felt presence of the weightiness of the body and the felt presence of the ground itself and whatever you're sitting on, as if the more you give the weight of your body into the earth, the more the earth rises up to meet you. There's an actual relationship of support happening right here, right now, between the body and the ground. The more you give the weight of your body to the ground, the more the ground rises up to meet you. Keep drawing your attention down into the body, down to the ground. As you unhook whatever storylines might be obsessively drawing your attention, compulsively drawing your attention upwards and outwards. To feel the exhalation in the belly, to feel the support of the ground. To feel your body here. Your breathing body here. Each time you unhook your attention, when you notice it's wandered elsewhere, as you return your attention to your breathing body, see what you can soften. Notice where you can relax. So that you come back with kindness, with softness, with renewed curiosity. How does the breathing feel in this body, in this moment? Settling first again and again with your breathing body. With the attitude of curiosity and tenderness, of wonder and care. So that as you begin to include more of awareness of how you're feeling today, there's a sense of it's okay to feel this way. You're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome. Being curious about whatever it is that you're feeling as it shows up here in the body. If anxiety is here, what's the particular flavor of the tingling or tension in the diaphragm, in the belly? If anxiety is here for you, I invite you to take every now and again longer, soft exhalations out through your mouth. As if drawing your attention down through the central channel of your body, all the way down to the ground. Not with the idea that anxiety needs to go away, but instead the offer to anxiety that there's ground for it to rest on. There's space for it to be here. There's room for this vibration, a steady container, a wide lap of Mother Earth for its agitation to rest on. As you breathe into these sensations, as you keep bringing your attention back from the storylines and the beliefs to the felt experience of being here, of welcoming anxiety as your young child within. turning towards, softening around, breathing into and resting beside with love, with kindness, with curiosity, with care. Releasing your jaw, your eyes, your lips and tongue. Exhaling down to the ground. Breathing into the places where you feel contracted in your body. So that anxiety or whatever it is that you're feeling in your body feels safe to be here. Feels the space, the room to be here. Is given time to be here. Here in the body, held by the ground. Recognized, allowed, and cared for. It's okay to feel this way. It's okay to not have the answers. To listen more deeply, more tenderly, and trust in love's capacity to respond. Patient with yourself as you unhook. Returning again and again to a longer exhalation, to the ground, to noticing what you can soften, where you can relax. So there's room in the body and in the heart to turn towards whatever it is that you're feeling, to find it in the body, to soften around it. Breathe into it and rest beside it with love. The words of Lao Tzu. The ancient masters were profound and subtle. Their wisdom was unfathomable. There's no way to describe it. All we can describe is their appearance. They were careful as someone crossing an iced-over stream, alert as a warrior in enemy territory, courteous as a guest, fluid as melting ice, shapeable as a block of wood, receptive as a valley, clear as a glass of water. Do you have the patience to wait till your mud settles and the water is clear? Can you remain unmoving till the right action arises by itself? The master doesn't seek fulfillment, not seeking, not expecting. She is present and can welcome all things. There's some time now, as usual, for questions. If you have any, you can write in the chat with question in capital letters so that it's easy to see, or you can click on the hand icon if you'd like to come on screen with me. And just a reminder as well, in this, as we're waiting for a few questions and reflections already there, but any of you others to add, a reminder about dana, remembering that dana is as much practice as our sitting practice, this practice of giving and receiving, of the entering into the flow of reciprocity, the flow of love, of relational care. And so encouraging you to support Sangha Live, and of course I'm deeply appreciative of the support that comes to me as well through Sangha Live this week. And I'll put the link in the chat. I will share the poem. Sue, perhaps I'll share it with George, and he can add the link to the recording. So there's a question from Ruth. Hello, Ruth. Thank you, Ruth. Ruth has just shared it. What would you suggest if the physical experience of anxiety is exactly the problem? I'm thinking as a cellist about bow shakes in performance and other forms of lack of control. Yeah. So in my experience, and you can let me know, Ruth, if this is the case for you, when I turn towards the physical expressions of any emotion, so including anxiety, and I give it time and space, this turning towards and softening around and breathing into, it will, it might initially kind of magnify things like the shakes, the movement, and then it softens and it subsides. So that would also be a question of, I wonder if over time, if you gave yourself time to practice really getting to know, and I'd invite all of you into this suggestion that give yourself time today and ongoing to befriend anxiety, to really get to know it in your body at an earlier and earlier stage, to become more familiar with that softening into and allowing it to move, allowing it to be here, giving it space. So that in times where we don't want the physical expression of anxiety to be overwhelming, we're more familiar with that relationship, and we can give ourselves the space, hopefully, just before going on stage, if you're a cellist, before a performance, before a moment where the anxiety would be triggered, but you don't want the physical sensations to be there, to really give yourself a longer space then. But also, in my experience, as we build this relationship, the softening and the releasing of symptoms arises faster. So over time, it could be just one breath that we breathe into, and that the body relaxes from that more contracted state. So the strong physical sensations are perpetuated by perpetuating the narratives of anxiety. So as we perpetuate, and this is the case for every emotion, we perpetuate emotions and mind states by either attempting to suppress them. I shouldn't be feeling anxious, tensing in the body, or by embellishing them, by going into the anxiety-based stories, which also perpetuates the emotions, or by drowning inside them, which is what happens when we feel an emotion but without any connection to the ground, to the body, to the breath, to the curiosity and the care. So instead of suppressing or embellishing, we're learning to come into the body, to turn towards, to soften around, to rest beside, and to breathe into. Let me know how that lands with you, Ruth. Marion shared a reflection. Dear Ayala, recognized, allowed, and cared for, it would mean a lot if those of us who, for reasons of ill health or disability, cannot meditate sitting up, could be included when meditation postures are mentioned. Yeah, thank you so much for that, Marion. I can only practice lying down. Others have to stand. We're here and want to be seen, be acknowledged, be welcomed. Thank you so much for that reminder, and I'll do my very best to remember. I feel constantly humbled by, when I take this role as teaching, as sharing, continually being humbled by seeing wherever my words are excluding anybody, and also recognizing that in some way that is perhaps inevitable in my fallibility, and is always a call to grow, to remember, to include. So whether that's your reminder of posture, whether it's a posture that is the only posture available to us, but also the posture that is more appropriate to us in any one moment, or whether that's just the language I used, like yesterday with the emphasis on that might have sounded like more of an emphasis on feeling love, and some of you pointed out to me that feeling isn't always accessible. So I always welcome your reminders, your pointers to me of where, in my attempt to share my experience, I've not been including your experience. And that's the way that we all learn and grow together. This ongoing inquiry of how is it to be you? How is it to be you? Thank you. A question here from Michelle. Thank you, first. And how can I find this quote, which Ruth has posted here in the chat. So hopefully you found that now. Great. I'm glad that was a useful response, Ruth. And I know, I think you mentioned that you teach mindfulness. So this is a perfect way that you can support your students in an ongoing way, because of course it's a practice. Michelle asking if I can suggest a book that relates. I'm attempting to write a book at the moment, so I will let you know if that comes, when that comes. The teacher who comes to mind and who has given so much to this world of embracing and accepting emotions, the first teacher who'd come to mind to me would be Tara Brach, who I'm sure most of you, if not all of you, know, and who has done so much to popularize the method RAIN with emotions, to recognize, allow, investigate, and nurture. So in many ways, that's what we were practicing together today, with some different languaging. So you could look for many of Tara Brach's books. Radical Acceptance would be one. The Ancient Teachings. So that's from the Tao Te. I never know if I say this right. Lao Tzu is the Tao Te Ching. Tao Te Ching. So you would actually be able to search. I think Ruth put, Tao Te Ching. You can search. It is in fact a book. Beyond that, I mean, I don't think I can help you further with. There are so many profound ancient teachings. So follow your heart. Follow your inspiration with that. David asks, "What's the name of the Lao Tzu poem?" I don't. I think it's part of the wider teaching. So, if you just search for the ancient masters were profound and subtle, you could maybe find more yourself. It's not so much a poem on its own. So Virginie, hello Virginie. Sharing that as someone, as a somewhat disabled body, I've learned to auto translate instructions regarding postures into ways that accommodate my condition. Inclusion is also an individual matter. I believe this is possible in such a loving and non-judgmental setting. Thank you, Ayala, for holding the space. Yes, thank you for that reminder that there's always, in any moment, there's always that very liberating invitation to attend to our own reaction and our own response, and take care there of what I imagine must be a place of a lot of trigger as well, when there's I was going to use the word disability in the body, but even that can often feel like a word that where we don't feel included. But whenever there's a something arising that makes us feel different or separate, that in itself, it's so much part of a teaching that in itself has its challenges, but the suffering that arises from that is often around the way that we experience ourselves and we find ourselves experienced. So the reminder, thank you, Virginie, that as much as it's each of our responsibility to widen in our curiosity and our inclusiveness and the wondering of how is it to be you, it's also our own personal responsibility, but also growth and capacity to notice where we are triggered and to take care there with the emotional responses that come up. So friends, thank you for your presence today, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow, where I think we will be exploring the energy of anger in a way that is liberating, meeting anger with compassion. And I invite you to continue through the day to notice what is here in your body, to notice how you feel in the body, to turn towards it, to soften around it, to breathe into it, and to rest beside it, and to let this become your ongoing practice, your informal practice during the week. Sending you much love, much gratitude for your dana, your support, your practice, and your presence. See you tomorrow.